I received a check engine light, and I needed to find out what was going on, so I went out and bought one of these scanners that you can buy over at Pet Boys or AutoZone for about 80 bucks. It's a pretty simple device. All you need to do is basically connect this up to your vehicle. You can find the place to connect it up to usually under your dash. It's pretty universal. Once you do that, be sure to turn the vehicle to the on position. Not the start position, but to the on position. This is going to give you the correct codes. Then you hit the read button. It'll send the data to the scanner, and it gives me a P0141, which tells me that this is the O2 sensor that's having the problems. You can look up this information and these codes on the internet. So on this particular vehicle, there's a couple of different oxygen sensors. There's four. Two in the front and two in the back, and what I mean by that is two before the catalytic converter and two after. You need to make sure that your code reader is giving you the correct one, if it's the front one or the back one. It's not a bad idea to just go ahead and replace all of them. This particular one, this is what the oxygen sensor looks like. This happens to be before the catalytic converter, and this is the one that's located after the catalytic converter. Now you're going to follow this up and make sure, here's a very important thing, there's a couple of different wires. They offer it in where four wires are grouped together, either across, four flat, or four in a cluster. This particular one's for cluster. It will make a difference, and then they also offer it without the connector. I usually like to go ahead and get the connector added onto it. First thing we want to do is to remove the connector. You'll see a blue tab on here. This tab is kind of a safety device to keep the connector secure at all times. We'll remove the blue tab and then just remove the connector. Now that we've disconnected our connector, the next thing we want to do is remove the oxygen sensor. Now there's a couple of different ways you can do that. You can either do it by an open-end wrench, or they do make a socket that fits on a oxygen sensor. Today I'm going to be using the socket that's specifically designed for the oxygen sensor. You'll see that it has a slit in the side. That's going to be for the wire. I've installed the socket over the oxygen sensor, and as you can see, the wire comes out the side. This is going to allow you to get a little bit of torque on this to get this off. These things can be a little bit stubborn at times. What I suggest doing is heat up the engine for about 2 or 3 minutes and go ahead and spray some WD-40 on the oxygen sensor itself. Okay, we're ready to take off the oxygen sensor. Once you get it started, it should be rather easy to get off after that point. Okay, we've removed the oxygen sensor. As you can see, it looks rather used. Here's a comparison of the two. As you can see, the new one does have a little bit different design to it as opposed to the old one. That shouldn't make a difference though. Now we're ready to install our new sensor. You want to make sure that the threads do line up, and start off by tightening by hand so you don't cross thread it. Once you've finished that, you want to put your two connectors back together, and you're finished. Okay, the last thing we want to do is check our code again in our reader. what you need to do is make sure that the car is in the on position and not the start position. Now you may still have the old error code in there, and you will actually need to blow that out. Let me see here. If in this case this didn't happen to pass, so there was no codes returned. If you do have a code, go ahead and hit the erase button. What that's going to do is blow out the code and get rid of your check engine light. After that, you're pretty much done. Check it out for a couple of days, drive it around. If the check engine light comes on, go through the same process of using the code reader and find out what's wrong.